I remember one time I came home from school and I had a B on my interim report card. And he said, "Son, that's not going to happen again, is it?" And I said, "Apparently not." In the middle of all that, of all of his love and care, there became a pressure there too. I mean, my dad was not perfect, and no dad is. And I know he struggled to show his affection. I knew he cared, but at times it was difficult for him to show it in a way that I could receive it.
Welcome to the Fathering Strong podcast. Each week, we have an interesting conversation with dads, fatherhood practitioners, and experts on matters of importance to men and fathers. Thanks for joining us. With today's episode, here's your Fathering Strong podcast host, Eli Williams.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fathering Strong podcast. We are delighted to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. And in the studio with me virtually is my friend, longtime friend, Wally Martinson. Wally, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, my privilege, Eli. Great to be with you.
All right. Well, listen, let's get started. First of all, we like to ask our guest, so we're not picking on you. We do this to everybody. What was life like for you, Wally, growing up?
Yeah.
And especially as it relates to your relationship with your dad. Right.
Well, as I was thinking and praying through our time together today, Laura reminded me what a great dad I had. I always felt his love for me. Our family was intact. I have two younger sisters, and really respected my father for the way that he basically held us together. It was a pretty traditional, we were growing up in the 60s and 70s, very traditional family. Mom stayed home with the kids. Dad went to work. But the other thing about this, Eli, is that there was no manual for fathers that I was aware of back then. And so God bless my dad. I mean, he would try hard, but he wanted the best for me so much. There was times when it got a little awkward the way how he described it. So,
say more about that.
Well,
how did it get awkward?
Yeah. So, I was remembering one time when, he always wanted me to do well in school, had high aspirations for me, would come to my sporting events, would be there, but and it probably was part of his generation too, really didn't know how to express his affection or his love or his care. He wasn't a real, huggy sort of guy. And so I remember one time I came home from school. Maybe it was seventh grade. I came home for school and I had a B on my interim report card. And he said, "Son, that's not going to happen again, is it?" And I said, "Apparently not." No, sir. And so, in the middle of all that, of all of his love and care, there became, a pressure there too. I mean, my dad was not perfect, and no dad is. And I know he struggled to show his affection. I knew he cared, but at times it was difficult for him to show it in a way that I could receive it.
Yeah, it's a man thing.
Yeah.
Most of us struggle that way.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that he's a great person, but was made to go to church till he was 18, and then when he turned legal age, he's like, "Well, I'm never going back there again. All I saw was a bunch of hypocrites in church." That's all I knew of his church experiences. He would explain it occasionally to my mom. So I was not churched as a kid. I was not raised in a church. And I think we went to church one time when I was maybe like 10. My parents must have felt particularly guilty. It was Easter weekend. So they took us to church and went downstairs, and long story short, it was like first century church day. I remember an old lady wrapping a towel around my head and giving me like a fig or a date to eat. It was like first century church day in the basement. There was straw all over the floor. I'm like, these people live like pigs. Like Why would anybody go to church? I knew nothing about the Bible, nothing about
Yeah.
church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
and I don't think my parents had that much better experience upstairs. So, they were kind of winging it as best as they could as parents, but at that time we're not believers. So, that's always that's a big deal. You kind of had to, they were kind of fending through on their own, doing the best they could.
So where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up, actually born in Chicago and raised in Cincinnati. So, got to Clark County through going to Wittenberg University. But yeah, my upbringing was really pretty normal, quote unquote, if there is such a thing. In fact, the little town I lived in called Green Hills was one of the 3 planned communities post World War II that Roosevelt set up. That was like all the J streets are together and all the H streets are together and it was like this planned little thing. And so I lived in classic suburbia, again, very traditional family, but you know, still needed to understand who the Lord was, understand his love for me, and that was hard to come by early on.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so I was kind of minding my own business in high school. I was one of those kids that just wanted to get through it. Like, can I just make my A's and not embarrass myself? If I had to drop my lunch tray, I felt like I'd have to transfer schools or something. So I'm just kind of minding my own business. And a guy came up. He was in college, and he was. I had seen him on campus, and I wasn't sure if he was a student teacher or whatever. Turned out to be a young life leader, and kind of befriended me. And I was drawn to this guy because I played sports in high school, particularly baseball, and I was on a summer baseball traveling team. And I was the third baseman on the team, and this guy was the shortstop, and this guy was all world, like athlete. And I thought, Eli, this is the strangest thing, but I thought if I became a Christian, I would lose my coordination. Now, do not even do not even try to ask me about that because I could not explain it to you. I just thought
It's hilarious.
it would just be curtains for me. Not that I was going to be a great player anyway, but
Right.
well, so this guy, this guy was the shortstop on the team, and I'm like, this guy's pretty cool. Wants to hang out. We'd get something, ice cream cone or shake after school or something like that. Well, turns out a girl that I liked at the time was going to this thing called Young Life that was really big at our high school.
Okay, explain Young Life for those who are not familiar.
Yeah, so Young Life is a high school outreach to non-church kids, befriending kids, earning the right to be heard, sharing the gospel. It'd be like Crew or InterVarsity only for high school and junior high kids. And so this guy, I got invited.
Crew being Campus Crusade for Christ.
Yes.
For those good, some of our listeners won't know what that means.
Yep.
So these are evangelical based outreaches to young people.
Yes, just trying to love on young people, give them hope and purpose, share Christ with them. Watch lives change. Now and forever. So, this friend of mine, this girl who was a friend, she always reminded me of that we're not girlfriend, boyfriend, we're just friends. She invited me to this thing called Young Life, which was a big kind of outreach meeting at a kid's house. And up there leading the thing was this guy who befriended me, this shortstop, like the coolest guy I knew. And this guy started sharing the gospel systematically, like every week. He would just kind of unpack. He would take me through. I couldn't have told you where the book of Genesis was in the Bible, but he just like kind of led me on a journey and then shared the gospel one night. I remember going back home just thinking, this is too good to be true. I think Eli, what he said at that night was, being a Christian is giving everything you know of yourself to everything you know about Jesus. And there's a lot of ways you can say this, in terms of receiving Christ into your heart, or however you want to say it. But that was perfect because I did not know much about Jesus yet. And I really didn't know much about myself either, but I knew I could take what I knew of myself and give it to what I knew of Jesus, and we could go on this journey together.
I love that.
Yeah, so that was
Uh-huh.
that he kind of became, in a sense, Eli,
He-
speaking of fatherhood, basically a spiritual father for me. He was only
Mhm.
like 6 years older or something,
Right.
but he really led me on this journey, and my parents were very they were worried at first, like, "Who is this dude that likes this is kinda weird. Doesn't he have his friends his own age?" Kinda thing.
Yeah.
Then they found out that no, this guy has a heart for God and wants to serve kids, and it actually led to both my sisters coming to the Lord and my parents coming to the Lord later in life, so
Well, this young man, I tell you, he was doing it right.
yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. He was really building a strong, trusting relationship. And street preachers, whatever, fine, I mean, do what God's calling you to do. But, the father heart of God is so relational, I mean, it's just he demonstrated it. He demonstrated the father heart of God to me in a way that at the time my dad couldn't, as much as he tried to.
That is so good. So good. And, I have tended to think in terms of older men mentoring younger boys, younger men. But you're only 6 years apart.
Right.
And so there's a whole mission field there for these mature Christians who are in their late teens to reach back to the underclassmen and
Ab
share the gospel with them. That
Absolutely.
build relationships first
Yes. Yes.
and share the gospel.
Yes. And I would say too that, I mean, part of this reach back has to do with kind of shared work as well. Like I was a brand new believer, and within a couple months he had me helping him do the Young Life Club for the junior high kids. Like he wasn't waiting for me to like get mature and get my act together. We'd still be waiting for that one. So, I mean, he
Not
just said,
true.
"Look,
Not true, folks. Not true.
Yeah. Well, he just knew that, a way that I was gonna grow in my relationship with God, a way that I was gonna grow in my maturity as a human being was to give back, was to
Through
serve.
service. Yes.
I still remember some of those clubs where it's almost like a teacher that knew the lesson plan one day before he had to teach it to the kids, like, "I'm just barely ahead
Yeah.
of you."
Yeah.
But it was good
But
enough.
that's the best way to learn. When you are learning to teach, you
Yep.
have to grasp it so that you can share it.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. You also learned a lot about, um, um, and this could go a whole nother direction, but he also, when I realized how forgiven I was, it allowed me to be able to forgive my parents again. I mean, again, nobody is perfect. Everybody has gotten some sort of wound or hurt. I mean, some incredibly deep. I'm not gonna say that that's my story, but there was times when, again, not to get too deep into this, but there was times when my dad would be out drinking on a weekend night, and I would be worried whether he'd get home or not. I mean, there's times when I felt like me staying awake was gonna keep him safe. I mean, that there's a whole deep thing there. But I can tell you that I was able, once I realized I was forgiven, I could forgive my father's behavior, and he wasn't even sinning against me. I just knew he was, struggling in some areas. So, I mean, the gospel became really real to me really quickly in my family unit that looked like the all-American suburban father at work, mother at home, 3 kids, 2 dogs, 2, the whole thing. No, no, no. There's deep stories in every one of those families.
Mhm. Yeah. And then you actually got pretty involved with Young Life and also Youth with a Mission, I seem to recall.
Yes.
So talk some about that.
Yeah. So, actually, I graduated from Wittenberg University with a degree in economics and business, dual major. So my first job was banking, actually, out of school, with Winters Bank that turned into Bank One. That who knows what it has turned into now. But I introduced myself times to audiences as I'm a recovering banker. That's my background, giving people the money that didn't need it. I know we do more than that as bankers, um, but while I was doing my banking work here in Clark County and in Dayton, the Young Life job opened up, and while I was in college at Wittenberg, a few of us helped start Young Life here just as volunteers, and we graduated. There was a person that came in on staff to do Young Life. They transferred, and so the job opened up. So I ended up privileged of taking that job for 3 years, and that's when I was also dating my now wife, Anne, and
How did you meet Ann?
she was at Wittenberg. I robbed the cradle. I was a senior. She was a freshman. We didn't date till a few years later, but we were part of a really cool fellowship group. And she was finishing school and starting to work, and I was on Young Life staff, and I realized that my job was like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, because you're hanging out with high school kids and doing stuff. Her job, she was inside sales for a graphics company. She was working like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So, I mean, the first year was rough. Like we didn't know what we were doing, of course, but we hardly saw each other. And so I think it was when she threw the shoe at me that I realized, wait a minute. Oh, and we joke about it now, but we have to.
Not Ann.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't imagine
well,
her
trust
throwing.
me, she held back 20 times. It was the 21st time she finally threw it. So anyway, we decided, you know what, we want to do something together. So I left my job with Young Life and left her job with the graphics company, and we went on the mission field with a group called Youth with a Mission. So Youth with a Mission is also known as Youth Without Any Money. So it was a little challenging in that regard, but my in-laws thought that their son-in-law was working his way down the ladder, from banking to,
That's
how
too
low can
funny.
this guy go? Now he's a missionary asking for support, but it was turned out to be a wonderful thing, of course, as only the Lord would have it, and so really learned a lot about the Lord. It's pretty much our practical seminary for a couple years, serving with YWAM, and we'd sold our house in Springfield by this point, and we were gonna kind of go out to all the world, and the Lord called us back here in 1993, and
Well, we're
that
going to
that was
pause there.
yeah.
We're going to pause right there, 1993, and we're going to take a short time out,
Okay.
and then we'll be back. My guest today is Wally Martinson, and he's sharing his story today, and it has been a riot so far. Stick with us. We'll be back on the Fathering Strong podcast.
Fathering Strong informs, engages, and empowers dads to be their best as fathers. Visit our website, fatheringstrong.com, for a wealth of resources, including informative videos, articles, books, devotionals, courses, research, and more. The Fathering Strong mobile app is a platform that empowers dads to connect with each other for mutual encouragement and support. Download it for free at fatheringstrong.com. And now, back to our conversation on the Fathering Strong podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Wally Martinson is my guest today on the Fathering Strong podcast, and your story has really some funny aspects to it. Thank you for sharing it with us. And then in 1993, your life changed somewhat. You came back here to Springfield.
Correct.
Tell us why.
Yeah. So, my wife and I were coming back from the mission field. it's hard to explain, Eli, how to know you're supposed to do something, except just to say we felt like we were called to do it, like we're supposed to come back. We actually came back in 1990. I should amend this. The Nehemiah Foundation started in 1993. We can get to that, but 1990 we came back and immediately started becoming fruitful and multiplying. So we had a couple
By
kids.
that, you mean you had children?
We had 2 children, yes, and it kind of back to back, a couple of years apart, and we're really still trying to discern what the Lord had for us. I mean, we were doing a little ministry with our church, and again, it was we were poor, but it was an awesome poor. Like we were, we were just really trying to walk through what the Lord had for us. And what we discovered was that there was a group of people that started praying for Springfield and Clark County. It's called Taking Our City for God Prayer. And it started in 91 or 92, and it grew from a small group of people. And Eli, you were right in the middle of all this. It grew to like 100, 150 people would meet once a month for prayer. And it really birthed a renewal of sorts in Clark County. And through a series of events, that something formed called the Nehemiah Foundation, of which I will remind or share with the audience, Eli was our first board chair for this august body. And it was really just a group of normal people, like business people, pastors, some civic leaders. We're all coming together asking, what can we do together as the church of Clark County and Springfield that we can't do by ourselves? And wouldn't you? And so then the scout team was out looking for who could help serve and lead this, and they they couldn't find anybody else, so they came back.
That's not quite how it was,
Well,
but go ahead.
it's kind of like that. I mean,
No. You're perfect for it.
yeah,
Absolutely
that
perfect.
was the thing. Yeah, like it was like banking. Who would have thought that banking and youth work and missions could all be woven
Put them
together?
together. Yes.
It's like God's straight line looked pretty crooked on my side of things,
Yeah.
but he knew what he was doing. And it was just so wonderful, Eli, for you and the other leaders in town embracing me, and just the dream of we're not sure where this is going, but we know we're going to do it together, whatever it might be. So that the official start, why I thought 1993, that was actually the official first year for Nehemiah Foundation.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was a great time.
So let's talk family, particularly being a father.
Yes.
So as you think back in your years as a dad, and you're still a dad, you're going to always be a father, right?
Where?
Of those early years, what would you say was the most challenging part of being a father?
Yeah, great question. And it's interesting, we started out the podcast talking about my dad a little bit, and I didn't really have the playbook either. Like what's the saying? A guy wrote a book, 10 principles to raise your kid with no kids, and ended up with 10 kids and no principles, like you can think,
Let me write that down. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Like you can think, textbook how to be a dad, then you become one. And it's like, holy moly, like
Right.
this kid won't quit crying. And then it's like, they're not listening. And then it's like, well, what school do we take them to? And how do I teach them as parents? And I mean, we don't have time today to talk through all of the foibles and all that. But what I can say, Eli, the most challenging thing in all of that was the times when I would, and this is a confession, but the times where I would like try to take it on myself. Like, I've got to be a better dad. I'm terrible at being a dad. I got to do, when I would keep God out of the conversation in my head and the equation, and just not rely on him to give me the strength and give me the wisdom, that would, those were challenging times, because left to my own devices, I don't think I There's only way I'm gonna be a great dad is if by God empowering me to be a great dad,
Yeah.
but by His Spirit. I'll give you a quick example of that. One, I was thinking about this, and Ann doesn't mind me sharing it, but I think our son was 8, so our son was 8, and our daughter must have been somewhere between 5 and 6, and our son decided he didn't want to go to church. Now, what are you tempted to say as a parent when your 8-year-old says, "I don't, mommy, dad, I don't want to go to church today. As long as you're under my roof, you're going to go to church with us."
Right.
My wife did something a little more brilliant than that. And she's a teacher, so I mean, it came to her, but she's like, "Okay, Daniel, you do not have to go to church today. But here's what you're going to do instead. I'm going to give you some Bible verses to read on what the church really is, just so you know what you're saying no to. And so
Mm.
I want you to do basically a book report instead of going to church on what the church is all about." And what she was doing was she was like starting to get these kids like have them build their own faith. Like don't take on our faith, but you're gonna build your own. The best advice we ever heard and on the mission field was when they were encouraging parents, which we weren't at the time, but we were listening. The best thing you can do as parents is reparent your kid to their eternal father.
Yeah.
That's the best way. That's the best thing you could do as a parent. So
Yeah.
I guess Eli,
That's so
conversely,
good.
the most difficult stuff is when we're not doing that, where we kind of take matters into our own hands, which is super easy to do.
No question about it. There's no manual for it.
Right.
And there would have to be a different manual for every child because
Yeah.
they're all different, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, even with
Yeah.
discipline, and I mean, we don't. Our daughter and our son and daughter-in-law have 4 kids, 5 and under, so they would need 4 different playbooks. Forget it.
Yeah.
But I do remember when our kids were growing up, like the way you disciplined them needed to be completely different from each other.
Yeah.
For
Because they're different from each other.
because they're different from each other.
Right.
Our son, and I mean, we believed in corporal punishment, not abuse or anything, obviously. But I mean, all we
Right.
had to do was kind of share the idea with our son Daniel. If you keep doing this, you might get a little paddling. He would stop. Like the last thing I'd want to do is have that happen. Our daughter would be like, "Bring it on!" Like that did not phase her in
Wow.
the slightest. What phased her was isolation.
Mm.
So, "Okay,
Mhm.
Andrea, if we don't change this, you're gonna go to your room." And that's all she needed, to kinda get in her right
Yeah.
mind. So, I mean,
Yeah.
even with things like that, like, it's just so relational, and we need to ask for wisdom from the Lord for it.
Yeah. So it adds some clarity to the scripture, Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way that he should go, for
Yes.
even when he's old, he won't depart. Each child is different. You have to ask God to give us wisdom, which way this child should go,
Right.
because he's not like the other child. So,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, like, it
yeah,
almost like, how could 2 kids could be opposite, I understand that, but our grandkids, there's 4 opposites, like north, east, south, and west, like, it's a crazy maker to try to
yeah,
systematize this stuff.
right. I mean, there are certain principles that are going to apply
Sure.
across the board, but when it comes down to it,
Yeah.
we need God.
Yes.
All right. So, what has been your greatest joy of being a parent?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question too. You know what has come to my mind, and my son we were just spending some time together recently. They're in Virginia now, so we have to go see him, but, we were down there, and he remembers a time, and I'm gonna give our friend Jeff Pinkleton some props here too. Um, Jeff asked, um, me and some other dads if he could interview our kids who were seniors at the time, like, to kinda learn from them about their fathering from their parents, which is really scary, to have somebody interviewing my son,
Yeah.
critiquing my parenting. But it's blessed me to this day. He said the thing I loved about my dad the most was he would come into my room and he would ask me, "Son, I'm sorry I screwed up today. I lost my temper. Would you forgive me?" And he, 10-year-old kid, you do that too. Their eyes get really big. Like, well, I don't even know what to say to that, Dad. But yes, like, of course I forgive
Yeah.
you. And just the way that humility was received by our kids, because I mean, it can, again, it's a theme for the day, I know, but I mean, we get humbled in this job as parents.
Yes.
We
Yes.
we we don't do things perfectly, but to be able to kinda, and, I wouldn't, like, dump on my kids, but I would, like, just come clean, or I even ask them. I'd say, "Hey, Dan, was there a time where I screwed up today, do you think?" As a dad. And, he doesn't know, but he appreciates the intent. He appreciates the thought of that. So I love that in the context of, if you can be a loving, serving, humble parent to your kids when they're younger, they'll be your friends later. If you try to be their friends now when they're kids, you'll end up being their parents later. Like, there's
That's
something
good.
there's
That's
something
that's gold.
to that dynamic. Like, you wanna be relational, you wanna love them, but you're their only dad, you're their only mom. Like,
They can get other
they
friends.
can get other friends.
Yeah.
What, like, but that's a lot of pressure. So then I think, well, yeah, but I'm gonna screw up. Is that, well, that's okay. The Lord's saying, "I forgive you," and I'm gonna ask you to ask them for forgiveness as well. And it's been a real blessing, Eli, to see our kids grow up and for us to be friends now and laugh at each other and tell stupid stories on each other. And yeah.
Well, talk some about because I know you've got to be proud of your children. Talk some about what Daniel's doing these days.
Yeah. So our son, he went to college at, Cedarville University. We told both kids, that God's gonna speak through financial aid packages when it comes to where you go to school. And it was like, and again, they just look at me like I'm nuts, but it was true. So, so we were blessed with both kids, actually, for them to get, a lot of scholarship money for Cedarville, which was great. But he met his bride to be at Cedarville, so they were college sweethearts, got married soon after. And our son, has felt a call to help help believers with, kind of their mental health. He's become a Christian psychologist. He's got a practice outside Roanoke, Virginia, with a bent, Eli, towards helping people on the mission field. It's called member care,
Hmm.
helping missionaries who are really struggling, kind of be a support to them, get them back on their feet.
What's his number?
Well, again, it's a family joke, but when he got his doctorate, he went to school at Wheaton for his doctorate, and which is a pretty challenging degree. And we joked about the fact that I was his PhD project, discovering what makes me tick is going to help him with screwed up missionaries on the mission field.
Right.
But they're kind of thriving down there. His wife got her master's at Wheaton as well as a family counselor, and so they're real involved with their church. They are doing lay counseling at their church. Developed a team around that, and Daniel just got back from Thailand not too long ago, working with Frontiers. They had a big East Asian conference, and he was able to just, pray with people, listen to people, help these folks kind of figure out what's going on in their lives. And it's been a privilege to see that.
That's really good work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's
All right.
meaningful.
So What's Andrea doing these days?
Yeah, so Andrea, she took a different road, of course. So, I mean, she went to the same college, but, she ended up with a biology degree, and, we would go on another fun part of what parenting life was like for Ann and I, meaning we go on summer vacations. Not even every summer, but I know we took a couple of big out west trips, went to all the national parks and all that, and she just fell in love with the national parks. So it was her senior year, and she said, "Mom and Dad, I wanna be a federal park ranger." Well, who doesn't? I mean, I'm like, "Honey, I wanted to be an astronaut too, like, but how does that work?" And she just kinda looked at me and smiled, and then sure enough, she's a federal park ranger. So she's been doing that for 5 or 6 years now, and, she's, she's a missionary. She loves the Lord. She's sharing the gospel with her fellow workers, which a lot of them are agnostic or atheists, and everybody sees how wonderful nature is, but she's like almost like a Christian apologist, like, the God behind this nature, who is he? And she gets super involved. She loves the word. She's every place, every time she gets placed, she's been at a bunch of different national parks now, but every time she moves, she finds a church that's a Bible believing church, and they find out she went to Cedarville and knows how to spell Leviticus, and they put her in charge of like Bible studies. So she ends up, that's what she's doing at her church now up in Michigan, is she's head of the women's ministry and helping do Bible studies. So this whole idea of reparenting kids to their heavenly Father by God's grace that happened with us, and I'm gonna brag on my wife. The one thing she knew, she's praying for our time together. The one thing she wanted me to mention was that kids can see better than they can hear. And so, like, to kind of just model, like, don't, as a parent, any parents listening and you love the Lord, don't feel like you've gotta read the Bible in your room, with a closed door. Go down to the living room, open up the Bible, and just read it in front of the kids. I mean, you're not
Yeah,
faking it, but just kinda practice your faith in front of your kids
right.
so they know it's legit. I mean, to do that
Yep,
and to ask for forgiveness is a
right.
really good one-two punch, I think.
And let them see you pray. Let them
Yes.
witness that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
as teaching as well.
Yeah.
Wow, so much we could talk about, but for the sake of time, I wanna turn the page and talk about your work. You were with the Nehemiah Foundation for many years. What was it, 20,
Let's
25, 30?
I think it was almost 20, like, 1992 to 2010, yeah.
Yeah, and then
18,
you made
19.
it okay, then you made a transition to another job, which is similar and then but not the same. So, we wanna talk about that after this short timeout, our final break. My guest is Wally Martinson. Stay with us. We'll be back after this.
A recent survey of the greatest needs of fathers determined that many of them want to learn how to be the best dads they can be. This includes seeking advice on fatherhood, parenting skills, and understanding their role in a child's life. We're happy to announce the new Fathering Strong book and suite of resources that includes a workbook, 30-day devotional and journal, and workshop materials. Written by Fathering Strong's Bruce Stapleton, this package provides everything you need for your personal growth as the spiritual leader of your home. Get more information at thefatheringstrongbook.com. Purchase the materials wherever books are sold.
Welcome back. This is the Fathering Strong podcast. Eli Williams here, and Wally Martinson is my guest today. Wally, you were the charter or the original or the first executive director of the Nehemiah Foundation, which continues to this day doing great work. But then you were called to a different job, a different
Yeah.
kind of work. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's been a privilege. So in 2010, our kids who we've been talking about, they were both at Cedarville, so we were empty nesters, and we had always felt like we were to do ministry together. And then when the kids happened, and we were broke, and and then I took Nehemiah, and kind of followed the kids to the Christian school here in town. So she was a teacher for a good 13 years, at Emmanuel Christian. Once the kids were out, we're like, okay, what are we going to do together? Yeah. And so I really wanted to honor that. So I resigned the post from Nehemiah, and we were going to kind of pray through what to do together, and started a little ministry called One Heart Ministries, which to this day is very small. It's just almost like a little kind of shell company. But we wanted to serve the church. We wanted to serve pastors. We wanted to serve, just like we had served ministry leaders in Clark County. We wanted to serve pastors in Clark County. Well, a group of people from Indianapolis and Columbus had heard that I wasn't working for Nehemiah Foundation anymore, and they wanted to bring something called Mission Increase into the Midwest, Mission Increase Foundation, which is a national, international ministry that comes alongside nonprofits and churches to help them grow and build their capacity, and consulting, if you will, but it's really more coaching and encouragement. They really have great material, do a great job. And so they thought that I and we would be good job for that. Well, the one problem, and long story short, the one problem with that was I was doing so much fundraising with the Nehemiah Foundation. That's the one thing I did not want to do anymore. Like, I'll do anything else but that. Okay, good. Well, let's do Mission Increase Foundation. So tell me, what is Mission Increase Foundation? Well, it's helping churches and ministries with their fundraise. I said, stop right there. Do I have to say anything else? I'm out. Not interested. I felt like it was like a bait and switch. Like, what in Mission Increase Foundation talks about fundraising? Like, they kind of had me at the title, but that's not what it is. Well, it turns out it is. I didn't know that. So they kept Eli, again, long story somewhat short, they called me every month for like the first half of 2011. We think you're supposed to be the guy to do this. We can't shake this. You're a God's person for this. I'm like, am I speaking English? Not interested. Finally, it was the end of May, which is our anniversary month. They said, we'll fly you out to Portland, Oregon. That's the home base for Mission Increase. At least check it out. And my wife, who's the smart one, said, honey, this is how missionaries get their anniversaries paid for. We've never been there. Like, let's at least go. Like,
Yeah,
check it
exactly.
out. And they sent us this little book called Coach Your Champions. It's a Mission Increase book. It's not a Pulitzer Prize winner. It's about an inner city youth pastor and his journey around money and giving and fundraising. But here's the thing. God used it in a major way in my life, and I think a lot of people in the Mission Increase world. The way this book talked about money and giving and fundraising was almost antithetical to the way I thought about it. It was so life-giving and so freeing. It basically re-energized me to talk about money and giving and fundraising. So we don't do just that, Eli, with ministries and churches, but that is part of our portfolio as we talk about board governance, fundraising, communications, leadership development. We have a whole 18 series, 3-4 year cycle on our teachings. And we've had the privilege of literally serving hundreds of ministries in the Midwest. And now to land the plane here, there are Mission Increases in Indianapolis and Grand Rapids and Nashville and Cleveland and Toledo and like Lexington and Louisville. So thankfully, we don't have the Midwest anymore. We are just here in Springfield, and we still do Columbus because we feel loyal to them. But this place is our home. We want to see what hasn't changed, Eli, is we want to see the body of Christ do things together we can't do by ourselves. And it's been so much fun doing that with you over the years and seeing what the Lord's done because of us, through us, and in spite of us.
Exactly.
It's been a privilege.
Yeah. We could probably do another session on the challenges today of getting churches to do things together who are not politically aligned.
Oh my gosh.
That's a whole nother episode.
Absolutely. It'd be a miracle, but yes, that would be worth it. Sure. Obviously. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an important topic that's not getting addressed, at least not in my world.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's being addressed. Too much to take on here.
Well, and just to enter in briefly, because this has to do with parenting and family. The enemy of our souls, which the Bible tells us is Satan and his minions. Their number one goal is to split the family.
Yeah.
And so it's to split the nuclear family. It's also to split the spiritual family. And he knows no new tricks. And we just are slow learners, we follow the news shows we want to follow, and we get the news we want to hear. And I have a buddy that says, if I can classify you, I can cancel you. And so we have all of this like segmenting, and we feel like we understand each other, but we're not hearing each other. You know?
Yeah, we're not. So parents have the job of helping their children navigate all of this while they're struggling with it themselves.
What
Big
do you
challenge.
know? Like we're all going to learn this together, and that's. I love the idea about we're not party affiliated. We're Jesus affiliated.
Amen.
And there are causes
Amen.
and all that, of course, but it's not as simple as you're that and you're that, and never the two shall meet. Yeah.
That's antithetical to how Jesus lived and what he taught.
Right.
My guest today has been Wally Martinson. And Wally, we've covered a lot of ground here today, and I've enjoyed every minute. I've never laughed so hard during an episode before. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Eli, it's been a lot of fun. And thank you for what you and the whole team at Urban Light's doing with this fatherhood initiative. I mean, I cannot think of a more important cause, to be praying for. I mean, again, the family is everything. I mean, God is family. So the idea of what you guys are doing, Ann and I really appreciate you guys too.
Well, thank you so much for that. And as always, you've got my undying support in all that you do, and appreciation for who God has raised you up to be and the difference that you're making in not just the local community, but all throughout the region. You can't go anywhere in the Midwest and not know who Wally Martinson is. And it's a privilege to be your friend.
Thanks, bud.
All right. Well, Wally Martinson, what would you say to close it out here? Someone who would like to know more about Mission Increase Foundation, how would they get a hold of you in order to get more information?
Sure. Yeah. The simplest thing would be to either Google Mission Increase or just go to missionincrease.org. There'll be on the homepage a banner for locations. Just click on Central Ohio. All our contact information is there. What we do, how we help folks. I kind of buried the lead. We're able to do all this at no charge to churches and nonprofits that we come alongside to serve. So you're not bugging us. Reach out to us. Go to missionincrease.org and just look for Central Ohio, and we can go from there.
Thanks again for joining us. And we thank you, friends, for being a part of today's episode. Listen, if you want to be notified whenever a new Fathering Strong episode has been released, you need to subscribe. It's free. And by doing so, you actually help us to be able to provide these services free, because the more subscribers, then the better the chance we're going to get some income from this, from YouTube and all the others. So it's really important to subscribe. Go to YouTube, Fathering Strong podcast on YouTube, and you'll see the link there to click. If you would like to also subscribe to our blog posts, we do a weekly Fathering Strong blog. We would love to have you also on that list. Just go to urbanlight.org or fatheringstrong.com and go to the blog tab, and there you'll see our archived editions and where you can subscribe for that. So thanks so much for that. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time on another edition of the Fathering Strong podcast. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Fathering Strong podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, were inspired, challenged, and encouraged. By subscribing, you won't miss an episode, as you'll receive notifications of each new posting. Go to the Fathering Strong YouTube channel to subscribe. For an informative weekly read, sign up for the Fathering Strong blog posts. Find them at urbanlight.org. Fathering Strong is powered by Urban Light Ministries, a nonprofit Christian organization that has been serving families for nearly 30 years. Charitable gifts by people like you enable us to offer resources free of charge. Go to www.urbanlight.org to give. Thank you. Join us for the next installment of the Fathering Strong podcast.